Hello, dreamers. Meet Troy and Pia, a husband and wife duo from Orange County, with a story of love, resilience, and entrepreneurship. Troy, originally from Australia, founded Culture OC, focusing on breathwork and holistic wellness. Pia, a talented makeup artist, runs I Love Brow House. Both have transformed their challenging paths into a passion of healing. Together, they balance running businesses, raising a family, and breaking generational cycles of trauma. In this episode, they share how they met, how they built a life of growth, and are creating a bright future for their children. Let's dive in.
Yay. Well, thank you guys for being here today. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. This is the first day we met you, actually.
Yeah, I know. We're getting to like the part where we're like done interviewing all of our friends. So it's like the people we...
Not necessarily, all of our friends, but like our closest people network-wise, right? People like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting like getting into this new little dynamic. But I love what you guys are doing. And I love your story, like of how you guys met. So I'd love for like each of you to just like give a little bit of a background of what it is you do and how you guys met, because I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here. So it's a pleasure to be here. What we do, because we own two businesses together, but I'll talk more on the wellness side. We have a Biohacking Wellness Center. So all around regenerative type services and protocols, one, to really optimize human performance. And in this day and age, we're working with a lot of illness and chronic health diseases and issues in the country. So we're really focused around how we can help people the most, and purely based on like community. So the biggest aspect that we really try to create is that strong community connection through the business.
Wait, what does Pia do? I want to dive into that first.
We have Brow House, which is cosmetic tattooing, and we have two locations and focusing on the most hyper realistic results. So to just upgrade your look with brows, lips, eyeliner, and so no one
you do eyeliner too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
good.
like no one would ever know in like the most beautiful way.
Yep.
You know? And we've done a pretty good job just creating like a style that a lot of people are just really in tune to and have helped people feel really good about themselves. So
amazing.
Yeah, and we have the best artists. And one little thing can be off, like the shape, the color, like how it ages, the depth. Like there's so much to it. And when it's done well, it just enhances someone's look where they would never know they had anything done.
For sure. Yeah. I did my eyebrows like 3 or 4 years ago. And when they started to fade, they were like yellow-green.
Yeah. And you see blue, you see red, or gray. And, you know, it's all about understanding what the pigment's made of, the depth to go in, the technique, the tools. Like there's so much to it. Yeah. And so it's an industry that you can always get better and better and better. And it's like creating this beautiful art for someone.
How'd you guys meet?
So if you've already noticed, I have an accent. So I'm from Australia, and I was living in Perth at the time. And I'm sure we'll touch on some of like childhood trauma, but why I was in Perth was at that point in my life, about 2 years previous to us meeting, I'd actually moved across country away from all influence, family. I grew up on the East Coast in Sydney, and I had a past of drug and alcohol abuse and addiction. And from growing up in a family of alcoholics and that environment. So with my change, I decided to just pack up and leave everything behind when I was about 31. And I moved to Perth, and I'd created this whole new lifestyle, rebuilding myself as the man that I wanted to be and the future I wanted to have. And throughout that process, Pia was there for 3 days. What she does for work, she's actually an educator as well. So she would travel around the world, educating and teaching what she does. And on the first day she was there, we met in a jazz club. I like jazz music. They had a local jazz musicians night there. And as you can see, she's pretty easy on the eye. So I seen her, and we started talking. And from the moment of our first, few words in conversation, for me, there was this sense of familiarity there. Like it was like I felt
like you knew her.
Like connection.
Yeah. And I have the tattoo 1111 on my knuckles. That's actually the symbol of the twin flame, which you can have soulmates, which don't have to be romantic. They can be good friends, people that you feel connected to soul-wise. But they say your twin flame, that's the other half of your soul. There's only one other person that can be your twin flame. So
when I think of twin flame, I think of Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox. Because they like taught me the whole twin flame thing where they have like the blood in their, I don't know, the blood necklaces.
That was like kind of happening when we were meeting, so people were comparing us a lot to that, but it's like so much deeper.
You actually kind of give me Megan Fox vibes.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. She's beautiful. So
You're
thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah. You look a lot like Megan Fox.
It's it was like when we met, it was because I was not in a place of looking for someone. I was really happy in my career. I was going through divorce happily and just ready to just kind of live this independence. I had my kids, I had the business here. And then the last thing I thought was that I'd meet like my person on the other side of the world. You couldn't get further away from, Perth is like
you almost
so
didn't even
secluded.
Want to meet anyone else.
Well, it just wasn't like, I would travel and go out and meet people, and it was like not romantically, just to like experience the world.
Yeah.
Because I worked so hard here. I'm so in my world here that being out, I had that freedom. So being out, we met, and we don't remember what we talked about, but we were like inseparable, and it was magic. And I mean, we ended up closing that bar down.
Well, it was closed, and the musicians, the musicians were there finishing their night, having drinks, and they actually asked us. They're like, "Hey guys, like,
get the fuck out of
you
here.
guys aren't actually meant to be in here. Can you leave?" And then from there, we actually spent the next 2 nights. We had dinner again, and then she flew to Melbourne, the other side of Australia,
For work?
Yeah, for another class. Yeah.
And then you had a break. You had a class that didn't come through, and she messaged you, said, "I got 5 days free. I want to see you again." I'm like, "Well, I want to see you again." So she's like, "I'll fly back to Perth." I'm like, "No, like, because I used to frequent Bali a lot." I'm like, "How about you fly to Bali and I'll meet you there?" So
We love Bali. That's what we did.
Yeah.
It was just this 5 days of adventure.
magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and that's like, that word was exactly it. Everything that we experienced, like, I mean, we took, like synchronicities, how they lined up, all the angel numbers with timing, and our birthdays where he had just had his birthday. Mine was when I was in Melbourne. So we're like so close. And we picked these little plumeria flowers the night we met. And we put them in water because he took me back to my hotel, and I put them in water, and then they just didn't die, which, little plumerias, they like start to wither. And then I couldn't throw them away when I packed up to Melbourne. So I rolled them up, put them in my shoe, and I put them in water at the hotel, and like, they still didn't die. They were like,
Interesting.
it was like, it had this like energy of like our experience together. And so, and then even when I left to Bali, it was like 8 days later. Look, they were freshly picked. And so we got like the matching tattooed. Like I have it on my side, and he has it.
Cute.
But it was like all these synchronicities like just kept happening. It's just like the easiest relationship, and it was just magic.
So what happened from there? Because obviously you live in the US, you live in Australia. Like, where'd you guys go from there?
So from there, like once we're in Bali, like, because he was like, it was just
What year was this also?
2019.
Oh, okay. So then it's good timing because COVID happened, and then you guys would have been screwed, right?
Well,
Or were you a
sorta.
part of that?
We were part of that.
There's a whole
Yeah.
story to it.
Okay.
So, we both left Bali at the same time. He was going back to Australia. I was going back to LA, and I like this water was like coming out of my eyes. I'm like, what is this? Because my heart and my head were so disconnected, because in no way did I think like this
Like
is it.
crying water?
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, wait, what's going on?
Like,
Like,
you
I don't
mean
cry.
crying.
Yeah. I was like, what? This is weird. And then I was like, this is hard. How am I leaving him? And I remember just being, when we were together, I'm like, just enjoy this experience, because you're going to go back to your life. Just have the adventure. And we both have that side to us of like being adventurous. And he's like, I will come there. And he came a month later.
Yeah. So that was May. Then I came out in July. I came out in October. Then you came to Australia in November
So
and
we just
February.
did like a year and a half or so
It was about a year.
of long
Back and forth.
distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then COVID was in that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're
Australia was strict, right? During COVID?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, it's interesting because you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have fun, and when we're in Bali, I'm like, we're gonna have a little baby boy.
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Like I told him we're gonna have a
Aww.
son. Like for me, I was like, this is my person. I'm done. And then fast forward a year, it got to. I actually had planned to propose to her in our birthdays are around the same time, end of April, start of May. And our anniversary of meeting was the 1st of May. We're in the middle. So I had planned this elaborate trip to Costa Rica. I was going to wake her up in the morning, same timeline as we met in Perth, and propose to her. And
so
then
thoughtful.
And then COVID hit and we went into full lockdown and we couldn't get out. Like our government shut everything down. And what's interesting when we might talk about manifesting is that I've always had this ability to say, if there's something I know for certain that I want, I'm going to do. Like once I say it, it's done. Like having a baby boy, we have a 2-year-old son now. And then we went into lockdown and I had to apply for an exemption to actually leave Australia. And I had good friends that were actually being denied for family members that were even really sick and dying in other countries. They couldn't get out.
Damn.
And Pia started to stress. I'm like, don't worry, in 8 weeks I'll have it and I'll be out. So 8 weeks later, I get approved. I pack up my house, put my dog in the car. I drive across Australia from Perth to Sydney, which is the equivalent of driving LA to New York in like 3 days.
Damn.
I drove 22 hours straight one day just across Australia. And then dropped my dog off. Then 4 days later, I jumped on a plane and then I flew here. And
you've been here ever since?
The next day I proposed to her. And then 10 days later, I was out surfing here with our 13-year-old and I actually had an accident and I broke my neck on a Friday.
Oh my God.
And then I'm one of those people that's like the tagline in Australia is she'll be right, mate. Like, don't worry about it. She'll be right. So I dealt with it all weekend.
We didn't know it was broken.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was broken.
What?
Yeah, we went shopping and we were mucking around, went and visited her dad. And then on Monday.
Like massaging it. Like, so
yeah. And then on Monday, I'm like, it's kind of bothering me a bit too much. Maybe I'll go to the ER and get it checked out. And they scanned it. And then after they got the scans back, they rushed me into emergency surgery and then fused my C4, C5 and C6 together.
Gosh.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So was it like a disc issue or was it your
like
vertebrae?
Vertebrae, yeah. So now that's all one solid piece. I've had a few serious injuries where I've been told situations that I won't have the same sort of life again, but I'm not like, you don't know who I am.
Not
that's
the average person.
Yeah, that's not what's going to happen. So fully rehabilitated. I was in the gym at like 4 weeks after it, lifting and stuff, not doing anything stupid.
I'm like,
but
please put the neck brace on.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh
yeah.
But
crazy.
yeah, so that was a whirlwind. And then I came here on a holiday visa because we would only been traveling. So when I came, and because of the craziness of COVID, I'm like, well, I don't want to leave because there's too much. We don't know what's happening. Will I be able to come back? When will we see each other again? So at that point, I actually decided to stay here illegally. And then we applied for a legal residency during that neck, which took 2 years. But that's why when we talk about the brow house, like I worked in the brow because I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I worked as receptionist. Like
so you know everything about.
I know everything about this business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she laughs when I start. People come in and they go, oh, I want to see Pia and ask these questions. I'm like, oh, how can I?
You're like, I know everything.
How can I help you? And then I start telling them everything about what's going to happen, how it's going to heal, and it's quite humorous.
I want to dive into like you say like childhood trauma. So like I mean that's something that I experienced a lot of too, and I feel like for me like having kids, it really opens your eyes to like the things that you don't want to do or show them or put in front of them like as you're raising your kids. Like what are some of the traumas that you guys went through as kids?
So my mum left my father when I was 2 years old, and not just left him, she left him to be with my stepfather. So I've grown up with my stepfather since I was 2 years old, but my dad's always been in my life. So where I'm at in life now, like I was lucky I had two dads. So I did not have a father or father figures, but they were all extreme alcoholics. And with my mum and my stepfather, they were very, very much struggled financially and daily drinkers. So there was a lot of aggressive verbal disagreements. And so one thing that I've discovered in relationship is that I tend to, I love mixed martial arts and I don't mind confrontation, like with anyone I don't know, if that makes sense. Like I have that confidence. But when it comes to someone who I love and I'm really connected to, I don't like confrontation because it brings up all this anxiety that reminds me of my parents arguing. Because my mum and my dad argued even though they weren't together on the phone. I'd have to be their middleman. And then my mum and my stepfather argued all the time and I'd have to interject in between them. And now I'm talking from like 5, 6, 7, like a really young age, being exposed to that. So those things I've only been able to learn because for me, my life was very different. I basically spent most of my life predominantly single. Like I just worked and traveled and enjoyed life. I didn't really have any serious relationships, even up until we met. Like I know I had a relationship for a year here and there, but nothing ever really was like, oh, this is the person I want to spend my life with type thing. So I never really got to understand how I was affected by certain things in a relationship until our relationship. And that's where I learned more about my childhood and how I was affected in an emotional relationship in regards to communication, because that's been a big thing that I've had to really learn and understand. The other aspects is that because of alcohol and it being so normalized, from the age of 15, I started drinking. And then I actually started I'm an electrician by trade. I started that trade when I was 15. And that's when I got my independence. So I sort of disconnected myself from my family. I had my own income and started, working for myself. I bought a house and started a business at 21. But throughout those periods, I was a heavy alcohol user and became heavily high functioning.
It's so interesting. Like, I feel like we have a very similar story because like the same. So my parents were married. My mom was like a severe alcoholic. Like my first memory of my mom is her driving me and my little brother to school with a red Dixie cup full of Sutter Home white Zinfandel at like 7 a.m. Yeah. Like I just thought those are the memories that I remember. But it's funny because like being with Chris, like because he's like so emotionally like mature, I feel like I never really had that in my life. But like, to your point, you don't realize how it affected you until I feel like you're in the right relationship. And then that's like really when things come up where you realize the things that you have to like work through.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Good point.
For me, it's what I experienced is different from,
How so?
So my parents were together until I was 12. My dad ended up marrying like their secretary. They had a private practice together. And like, but the difference is like, there was no communication and there was not like, I know my parents like love me, but there wasn't like, I was never able to like express myself. I was always too much, too loud, too something. Mm-hmm. So I would do things to try to get that attention, Mm-hmm. And even now still like, there's not a lot of like my dad specifically. It's like, we all have, there's not that he doesn't show love the way.
Like, I love you. Like, I love you so
Never.
much.
Not even one time.
I love you,
not even one time.
Yeah.
Not even one time in my whole life.
That's
and
hard.
My parents are psychologists, which is also really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Oh, it's
both of them.
Both of them.
Wild.
Yeah. And her dad's like a really well-known a family psychologist.
So interesting.
That's a whole
Talk
story.
about practicing weed.
Or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great, but like,
well, you probably witnessed like cheating then too. What did you? Yeah, that's something that like I had so my parents divorced when I was 15, so freshman in high school, which I feel like is the worst fucking time because that's like all the first time you drink or have sex or whatever. You're like exploring as like going into high school. Yeah. So, but the same thing, I rebelled, like, and I did drugs. I drank. I got sent to a prison in Mexico at age 15. I'm not even kidding you guys. Like, I got sent to an all-girls boarding school in Mexico where they physically, mentally, and sexually abused girls. Thank God none of that ever happened to me, but was shut down by the American government, like, while I was there. Like, these shows there's Netflix documentaries on them.
I feel like I've heard of that, actually.
It was called Casa by the Sea. Like, I was one of these girls sent, like, you're blindfolded in the middle of the night, an escort picks you up. Paris Hilton went through this. Like, I went to one of those things. So it's like, I went through all of that at a young age, like you, because I feel like you rebel. And I don't know if it is because like, is it attention? Is it this? Like, whatever it is, like, I don't know. Thank God I got it all out of my system by the time I was like 20. But it's when you're that young and you witness the fighting and the cheating and it's like, I feel like your brain is just so little. You're like, what do I do? What can I grasp onto? How can I get attention?
Substance abuse. And
like
stuff.
searching and seeking and looking for something.
Yeah.
I feel like when you deal with that much trauma growing up, and I didn't. I mean, of course I have.
He grew up on the little house of the prairie, white picket fence. His dad's the mayor of Chino Hills. His parents are still married.
I definitely witnessed a healthy relationship, but my dad's like a big like figure in our community that we grew up in. But I also did witness neighbors, his friends, etc., unhealthy relationships. And I was like quick enough and smart enough, even at a young age, to like realize that. And my parents aren't perfect by any stretch, but having obviously, we got married and a lot of this stuff came out, in the courting phase when we were dating and whatnot. And I'm just like putting myself.
Chris
in
thought
her
I was fucking psycho.
putting myself.
He's like, what am I doing
He's
with
like,
this girl?
yeah.
But
he's like, she.
it's
So have
hard,
you seen?
but it makes her like this amazing
Yeah,
being that she is
yeah.
now. Like it's hardened her, and like for me, there was 3 ways out for her. Right? She could have either carried on doing what she was doing, which probably would have led to number 2, which is like you're going to bury yourself literally, right? Or number 3, you learn from it, right? And you take what you've learned and you apply it to whatever the next chapters are in life. And I feel like that's.
Well, I mean, I feel like you guys would probably agree, like going through those traumas, it's like you really do have 2 choices.
Yeah.
It's like you either turn into a total piece of shit or you like figure it out and makes you stronger and it turns you into like this human being who turns into an entrepreneur and an amazing mom and shapes you into something better.
I think we both have just like innately who we are is like this drive to always grow and be the best version of ourselves, and even experiencing very different, but what we experienced, because I don't even have very many memories as a kid, which is kind of
Do you feel
weird.
like you blocked them out?
I guess because I can't remember anything, which
have that same
which
issue
is
too.
odd.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like I don't even remember. I'm like
That's how I feel
Yeah.
about my whole Mexico situation. I feel
Yeah.
like my brain like blocked it out.
but then it's still in there somewhere.
It is
can
still
come
in there.
out. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, that Netflix documentary that just came out that actually was about her school. What's it called?
Ivy Ridge. It's about the New York version of
Yeah. But that she
Triggered something.
It literally that
whole week I was
you were
like-
a different person.
Yeah.
It was not.
And that's what's so interesting is that it's in there, and it's we do respond from that place, but we don't realize how we respond from it.
For sure.
And so then when you get triggered by something, then you're like, oh, it's in there. How do we clear it out and grow?
How has this affected you guys as parents? Like moving into like your next phase together, having a child together, dealing with the trauma.
So my oldest is 22
Damn.
and she's amazing. She's in college in Hawaii right now. And so in a lot of ways we grew up together. And then I got married a second time and had the 13-year-old and the 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And they're amazing too, but they witnessed the little one, not so much, but the 13-year-old, she witnessed like arguing and just like not a healthy relationship, you know? And then, so when I met Troy, it was just a completely different experience. And it was almost like the universe just put him exactly where he needed to be, not only for me, but for them too. Because he's like, for all of them, you know, not just ours together, but the 3, like he's like their parent more than, you know, in so many ways, he has that masculine presence that was missing, you know? So, and because of what he saw growing up, like he could be very compassionate to what they went through.
Totally.
And because even now, even with my ex-husband, they have a great relationship, you know, and it's,
Your kids and your ex-husband or
No,
Troy
well,
and your ex-husband?
yeah. And we all live on the same street and it works well. I know. Yeah. It's
That's nice though.
It's
like
great.
that's how it should be,
Yeah.
especially for your kids,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I was very intentional with making it that way because
Yeah.
I saw what it was like with my mum and my dad, my stepfather, because my dad and my stepfather were friends.
Yeah.
That's how my mum met my stepfather.
After were they friends?
No,
though?
not after. So it was not a good environment. And
Yeah.
I was the one having to deal with all that. So I was very...
And you saw that you felt that impact of like them being torn.
Yeah, and just the dynamics of communication and how heavy it was. And when they weren't able to communicate, I would have to be the communicator for them. And at a young age, that's just not a good space because you're not just receiving the
Well, no,
communication,
you're 14,
receiving...
15 years old.
No, I was like 5 or 6.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like that's
Damn.
They split when I was 2, and then the first memories I remember as a child is at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, where I'm having to interact and communicate from my dad to my mom. But I'm not just communicating; I'm receiving the energy of that communication. Do you
For
know what I
sure.
mean? So, but with our kids now, like I was very aware of how they would be affected by the situation and having to go through all that and understand my own brain development and how I was affected. I was like, I wanted to make sure that they didn't have to have that experience and provide an environment where that they had the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And I feel like that's hard for people to do because it's like, I mean, obviously if you live on the same street as her ex-husband, like that's not the easiest thing for you, like, and like from an ego perspective, you know? So to like let that down and be like we're friends, like it's for the kids. Like, I feel like that takes a lot, like from you as a
Emotional
human.
maturity.
Yeah. Like a lot of maturity to be
Well, there
able
was
to
a
do
lot,
that.
and we communicate. It's not like we'd go hang out and go do stuff, but we actually did recently.
We do now, yeah.
But in the
That's cool though.
Yeah, but in the early stages, it wasn't easy for Pia.
Probably any of you.
Pia and
he's alwa's been great with it.
Yeah,
It was
for me
more
it was
I would get
fine.
annoyed.
But then I had to manage like
I feel the same way.
how she felt and things, and I knew what had affected her, how she felt from the relationship. So I had to keep this like strong boundary of not wanting to put too much distance between me and her ex-husband, whilst nurturing her and trying to bring everything together so that eventually, like where we're at now, there would be a more positive environment for everyone involved.
But like you, he has this high level of emotional maturity, probably just who he is too. But that was really what made everything work. You know, like
I
having
feel like
that
you have
presence.
to be. Yeah, you have to be.
But not everybody is, you know, and
Unfortunately, no.
But like you said, you have to be aware. Like you have to be aware and you have to like be able to, get there, you know, like it takes.
That comes with practice. It's like training in the gym or doing yoga. Like I practice my yoga and hear people say that it's like, you're not good at it every day. You have to like consciously work at it. It's got to be a conscious decision every day. And then eventually, hopefully, you know, I can only speak for myself. It becomes somewhat subconscious to where like my reactions to things are subconscious. Right. But I know a lot of people when they're working towards certain things, especially when they're predispossessed with whatever they had growing up, it has to be conscious day in and day out. And I respect that. And I respect, you know, both of you guys for, the story that I just heard, I'm like, whoa, you know?
it gets crazy.
Yeah.
He literally describes my life as the movie Casino. Like, my dad owned a bunch of like the Robert De Niro, like
Let me tell this story.
Okay,
so she grew up, she didn't just grow up rich. Her dad was like wealthy. Her dad owned casinos in Las Vegas. She grew up in Las Vegas. Now picture this. We all grew up where we grew up. Think about where you'd play in your backyard, like when you were 14, 15 with your friends. Like when she was 14 and 15, she was stealing her parents' car, literally stealing it and taking it down to the Las Vegas Strip
To me, that,
or like downtown Las Vegas. Think about that for a second, like what you have access to there. Her dad, amazing father. Now, I don't know the way it was then, but it sounds like he would
always been the best.
He would grind. He would be like not there as much. He would be working, building his empire. He owned all these casinos, right? And then drug addict, alcoholic mom, right? Who isn't in the picture anymore. Completely just on another planet. So I can't even imagine like
you said, like raising yourself.
Yeah,
like,
she was essentially raising
like,
herself. But if you've seen that movie Casino, Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone, like Sharon Stone was her mom.
Yeah, it was wild.
Like she gets triggered almost when we watch that movie.
wild.
She's like, "Oh my god, it's my mom."
Yeah, well,
Like
it's sad.
and Robert
like,
De Niro like, owns the casinos, right? Like,
yeah. No, it's sad when I see like homeless women on the street. I think of my mom. Like that's like, ugh. Like I kind of get emotional because like that's like the first thing I think of when I see a blonde homeless lady. I'm like, that's my mom. It's like, I don't know. It's wild.
But that's interesting because it's there and it does affect what drives you.
Yeah. Well, and that's like what
She's
I
aware of it
immediately
too.
relate to. It's just like, it's so fucked up that it's like, I never want my kids. Like, it's even with like, because we have 2 girls, like even like saying like fat, skinny, ugly, like words like that, I'm like conscious of. Yeah. Because like I grew up like with such like body dysmorphia, like I feel like I always had to like look a certain way, you know? That like I never want my kids to like feel that way. I don't know.
I can relate to that too because I mean, what I'll say to the 2 oldest are girls, what I'll say to them is like, well, how do you feel in your body? You know, not like how do you look, but like how do you feel? You know, and then that connects to something different. You know, because we all want to. Of course, we all want to look good and, you know, but it's especially in this environment now with social media and which is the worst, by the way.
The worst. It scares the shit out of me.
It's the worst. Yeah. And
especially around here in Newport Beach, like we'll go to fashion and see 12-year-olds with like literal like sports bras and jeans on their phones running around. I'm like, dude,
but all they're doing is on their phone. They're not even taking in the world.
You know? I know. It's scary.
They're not
present. So scary.
So explain to us, or I guess everyone listening, your guys' businesses and how they intertwine.
Well, it all started with Brow House that gave us the ability to build culture and Troy's, and then we work with like for just Dr. Joe and I'm sure Dr. Michael. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They're like the top injectors in the US probably, but very popular in Orange County. And so we've been able to grow so much because they've given us the space to, and the confidence and all that to grow. But then we all moved into a bigger building together. And then, so that's where culture came to life. And that's been like Troy's like passion is like health and wellness. And so how they intertwine is.
Well, is it so? Basically, the Brow House was under the rooftop of Forever Ageless for nearly 10 years or something, was it?
Oh, okay.
And then they got
I've heard of Forever Ageless.
That's Dr. Joe Cerny and Dr.
Got
Michael.
it.
They're the brothers who own that. So they got an above market offer on the place where they're at. So it was too good to be true. So within a month, they just sold and looked for another space and found this building that was twice or three times the size of the space they had. So they weren't going to fill it all. And we already had a standalone Brow House studio outside of where we were with them. And the place was too big to open up just another Brow House. So for the last 10 years, I've had this like vision of opening a gym that had a wellness center in it. But this suite that we had the potential to utilize for where we are was perfect just for a little niche biohacking wellness center. So literally we spoke about it. I said, I think we can really make this work and something special.
So it's cold plunging. What else?
We have a cold plunge where we teach a guided breath work and meditation practice with cold plunging. So it's more than just the physiological benefits. We teach more of the emotional fight or flight response control, trauma release, as well as
it's like a guided cold plunge.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, cool. I want to do that.
Yeah, you can come in and do your own thing, but like I've made a practice where I teach people the foundational skills of how to cold plunge and get the most from it, not just physically, but emotionally.
People get in, they're like, I can't do it and get out.
Yeah, they give up.
Yeah. But having this experience, it's transformational for people. Yeah.
And for me, like when we spoke about plant medicines and things, I actually had a lot of growth in my life just from meditation and breath work. Breath work changed my life, and then combining that with cold water immersion was a huge change in my life that shifted my trajectory to where I am
Do you do it every day?
I pretty much do it every day. If not, I'm in there like 5
morning,
or 6.
night.
So it depends. One thing with cold plunging is, morning it's great to inherently do something you don't want to do because anything else that happens for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
it's the best way to start your day. But with cold plunging and the science behind it, for men specifically, if you're cold plunging an hour or so before heavy weight training, it's been shown to stimulate natural testosterone production by up to 50%. So I will manage cold plunging around whether it's morning to start my day or whether I'm going to do it around my training because I want, balance out hormone production. So we mainly knew of cold plunging as athletes for recovery after heavy workouts, but now with a lot of science, men and women, we're seeing we can utilize it in different ways for hormone balancing and different things. So I just do it depending on where my day is at. If I've got an early start and I don't have the time because I'm getting people in, then I'll program it around before I'm going to go to the gym later in the day. But yeah, we have a cold plunge, 2 infrared saunas. We have a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Saw that.
Yeah, red light therapy bed, a flotation pod. We have some practitioners, acupuncture, bodywork, massage therapy.
Damn.
And then really with the Brow House and culture together, it's a full rounded aesthetic wellness business. So
and we have Forever Ageless downstairs. So it's all the injectables, lasers, all that stuff. So it's a whole one-stop shop for like everything
so cool.
you need. Yeah. With like the coolest people.
Are they doing the peptides when they do the injectables?
Yeah. So we the one thing we really wanted to incorporate with culture was really working with physicians and people that are in line with community values that give you a full, well-rounded thing. So, everything from IV, hormones, peptides, we're connected, whether it's in the business itself or a part of the business umbrella with connections to physicians and doctors that we trust, that we want to work with. And we're actually in a sort of redevelopment phase of culture, creating more of a community around having it all in one place where we can have referral programs to the doctors and physicians that we like to work with, so that really we set ourselves apart as not just being a wellness center, but a wellness center where if you're got issues with hormones, you're going through cancer or chronic health issues, that we can really have everything in one place for you to get the most out of it.
Because one thing you guys have probably seen, like here in Orange County, and there's like some of the coolest people here, and
vice versa.
Yeah.
Well, but mainly the coolest, like that's who we interact with the most,
Interesting people,
but like the networking and just like being able to work with people who are on that level of really wanting to offer something that's like transformational, and then they become good friends, and like
the community, there's a community feel in Orange County.
It's amazing.
It's a small community, especially close to Orange
word
County.
of mouth is like big too.
Yeah. And then that becomes your network. Like I don't really experience anything negative really, like from, I'm sure there's like stories out there, but like
I feel like you guys have synergies, like because he has 15 storefronts, like for nutrition stores. But like it like fits in.
I built my business just literally building a community, and I knew the rest would follow. And now we have, we're probably the biggest fitness-based business in California.
But that's a lot of who you are and who you attract to you. You know? And that's like the magic of it.
Yeah,
for sure. On that in alignment with what you're supposed to do and your purpose and your passion, that drive, it's like everything kind of happens.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. I tell everyone, I'm like, you just have to start. Yeah. And if you start and you're passionate and you have that passion in you, like one step's going to lead to the next, you're going to meet the right people. And before you know it, like every time you're going to have a business.
It takes patience too, and perseverance, and like every fucking adjective under the sun, right?
Yeah. But the first step is like starting.
You have to start.
Oh yeah, no, there's stuff that happens in between for sure. Oh my God.
Yeah. A lot of stuff.
The roller coaster.
But like our intention is that culture as a community is something we're going to build out worldwide. Like I want to be the leader in this space because of the community aspect. Because you can have wellness centers, but if it's just a walk in, walk out, and there's no community events around it, then it does. You could have a multi-million-dollar facility, but unless you really create the vibe and the culture, which is interesting, just listening to the coffee dose side of things, it was all about the vibe and the community.
For sure. She does a great job with that.
Yeah. Which is that's the most important aspect, because you're creating something that people want to be a part of rather than a place they want to go to, which is completely different.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did too.
Yeah.
Exactly what we did. That's so cool.
So when people say biohacking, like what is that to you?
So if you think, our biology, we want to be able to hack into it like a computer would hack into a computer software. So, we're made up of trillions of cells, and how those cells interact and communicate together determines like what's going to happen within the body. And a lot of what's happening is metabolic dysfunction, where our cells are confused or they're lacking energy. So we really dive deep into how we can get the best response of energizing your cell to run more energy out of the mitochondria, and also to communicate better. So we're looking at detox protocols. We're constantly bombarded by environmental toxins and chemicals that's breaking down the body and forcing it into disease, microplastics, heavy metals. It's just a huge amount of things that we're exposed to, that we want to basically cleanse the body of these things that are, crushing the cellular system, and then revamp it and energize it so it has all the nutrients that we're talking about, elemental nutrients. So red light and infrared, they're actually rays of light we would naturally get from the sun, but we're just not in the sun enough to get what we need. Yeah.
So that gets your vitamin D essentially, right?
Well, vitamin D is a response from UVB. So you don't want to be exposed to UV light that's not from the sun, like a tanning bed, very destructive from a cellular point of view. Red light and infrared are different. They're not going to cause any burning, or they're not going to have that reaction with cholesterol that brings on vitamin D production. But basically, red light, our cells absorb red light and infrared light and convert that into ATP, or cellular energy. And the more ATP you can produce, it optimizes everything: organ function, immune function, quality of your skin, been shown to regenerate eyesight, stimulate hair growth. But then when we stack it with things like you jump in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber afterwards, your body's getting flooded with 100% oxygen that's being forced into the tissue. So it's all regenerative, non-invasive medicines. And when we created like this spa type vibe, so rather than walk into a medical facility where you potentially feel like there's something wrong with you, from the moment you walk in the door, we want you to feel like there's nothing wrong with you and you have every opportunity in the world to feel better. And that's why you're here. And then once you go through the therapies, you walk out feeling like that. And then the one thing we have is people walk in the door, and before they even do anything, they feel like they're stress-free.
They're healthier being in your office.
How gratifying is that? That must be so cool.
It is. That is a really
cool
feeling.
To make other people feel good.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Like being of service.
Yeah.
Well, that's with the brow house, because I'm in there and I see so much. Like you see all these people from different walks of lives, and some of them have chronic issues, like they've had cancer, so they've got no hair. And this little piece of hair above your eyes literally changes
Their life.
their life. Honestly,
Yeah.
like it's life changing for some people. And I always see what she does as a therapy session for people, because people
sure.
sit in that chair and sometimes it's 2 hours, a bit over 2 hours. And because they already trust her to tattoo their face, there's a level of trust and her personality. By the time they're finished with each other, they both know each other's life story. They've had this whole energetic transfer of like communication, and it's way more than just getting your brows done. You see people walk out who are nervous or not sure with this huge smile on their face. That it's the best they've
Tattoo my face.
Yeah.
Literally, like I just want to lay there. I want
I have a feeling you guys
eyeliner.
are both going to get business from us.
Yeah.
Like,
I want it
like
all.
soon.
Yeah.
Because I definitely want
I know. I want to
to.
try the guided. I didn't realize because
I need it all.
it's funny. I've never done cold plunging, but immediately I say I'm not a cold plunger. But like the way that you just described it, like makes me want to try it.
Yeah.
I feel like because no one's really doing like the guided, right? They're just like, here's the cold plunge.
I've
Go
had,
get
I've
in
had-
it.
Yeah, I've had quite a few clients that have been to other practices here where it's like that. They're like, there's the cold plunge, off you go. 20, 30 seconds, you're going to be in and out because
If that.
Well,
Yeah.
And ours is actually a lot colder than a lot
It
of these
almost
other places.
needs to be
Are you using
guided.
the 30s?
Yeah, so we're like normally 37 to.
Yeah, that's
to-
like almost frozen. I was just listening to a Rogan podcast and he was like, yeah, I have to get mine basically to where it's the
ice.
the water's about to harden.
Yeah.
Like
But
it's ice
honestly,
on top. It's
after
like
it's
slush
cold,
underneath.
it's cold. Like
Do
I
you
did,
do it too?
I did one right before I got here. My legs
You
are still a
did?
little cold. You remember? Yeah. And I don't love it at all. But after I'm in, it's like, okay, why that was not bad. And you feel like on fire. Everything gets like activated. But I also like have to talk myself into it. But recently I could just get in before I'd have to stand there. You know?
But there's levels of why that's so special because we teach the guided practice. So one, I'm going to tell you what to experience. I'm going to be there guiding you through it. The thing is that I pick up on where people are at. So I know where you're at your hardest part, what you need to push through. And then there's a threshold where you build a thermal layer around your body and it does not get easier, but you adapt and you go into more of a meditation state, which is why we use our breath. Using our breath, we control our heart rate. So we slow our heart rate down. Once you slow that down and push past that fight or flight response, you're then in control of the environment, which is why we teach it as emotional control that you can utilize out in day-to-day life. But I do it nearly every day and I never want to get in. I hate it. And that is part of the beauty that you never want to get used to cold plunging, because when you inherently do something and push yourself to do something you don't want to do, it rewires your brain and creates a new neurological pathway that any challenge or situation that arises, you're retraining your brain every time you do this to just do it. Like, I don't want to do this, but
Well,
I
it's
gotta
like
do
the
it.
whole excuse thing. Like if you tell yourself like, oh, I'm not going to the gym today, this is why. And like you give into that and like you give into that versus what you just said, like it builds up like this resilience to like do these things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, and there's a part of the brain that's like a muscle in the brain that when you do things that you want to do, you push off temptation. Like if you're going through a diet and you push off temptation, you push yourself to go to the gym when you don't want to. There's a part of the brain that's been shown that it increases in size by your resiliency to do things that you don't want to do.
Like keeping your promises to yourself.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Having
That's
structure,
huge.
It's huge.
And it builds your own confidence because of what you're capable of.
Yep.
You know, and then your goals get higher and higher and higher. So it's like activating that ability to thrive. You know?
It's your whole space is so interesting to me. It's so interesting. It's so cool. And it's something that I feel like we need to get into and get better at.
Well, you
'Cause
are. You are now.
Yeah, we're
You're
so.
in it now.
I'm extreme. She's disciplined. We're both very disciplined when it comes to like our diet, our nutrition. I train 4 or 5 days a week. We're just structured in our day-to-day lives, our finances, our business, etc. And I feel like this will be like another element that'll kind of help everything else.
Next week, let's get you on the schedule.
Yeah.
I'm
I want to
thinking
do it.
tomorrow.
Or come later today.
Yeah, I want to do it. I almost feel like you could do like if you had 5 of them, you could do like a little like class, right? Where you like
Well, he does do events. And
Yeah, I
you
do
do?
events with like pop-up ice baths and stuff like that. And well, one other aspect of cold plunging quickly is that it becomes addictive when you do it, because after you get out and your body starts to warm up, there's actually a huge rush in dopamine, and it's been shown even to be up to 250% above your base level. So that's the same effect as doing cocaine and doing other drugs that you get, that euphoric feeling. But obviously, you know, you're getting a huge amount of health benefits out of doing it. So whilst people struggle to get in, when they get out and have that feeling, that's what, okay, I want to come back and do this again.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys listen. The first guest we ever had, it might be like the third one on YouTube or the second one on YouTube. His name's Michael Linares. He sold his business for $115 million. I grew up with this guy. He's brilliant. He was a nurse. And then he started this thing called Simple Nursing online. Basically takes nursing students and gives you the cliff notes via video to get you through nursing school. Anyway, he took some of the proceeds from that and he's like huge into biohacking now. He's so fucking intelligent when it comes to this. And he's starting to create products. And this place in Austin, Texas, he's opening up very similar to what you guys have here. It's like a farm that you go to retreat for like a week, and you go and you literally just
reset.
It's like a biohacking retreat.
Yeah, it's a biohacking retreat.
That's
You guys should
cool.
listen to it because there's a lot of parallels to what you're saying and what he was sitting right there and saying.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, I haven't heard the whole podcast, but I listened to some of the
Yeah,
clips.
Yeah,
He's great. He's
they came up
fantastic.
with him and his brother started a supplement too called Longevity Farms. What's in
Angel's
it?
Cocktail.
NAD.
Resveratrol, NAD, creatine, salt.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
He's all about the salt and
Yeah, 'cause
sunlight.
we
in
take
the
all that
morning.
stuff now
Yeah.
separately. Yeah.
Well, they created this because they were spending like $300 a month on like 10 different things. So they put all those 10 different things into one supplement that like then cost them $70 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of
they
like a
literally
passion
made
project.
a spreadsheet of like everything they were taking and then they combined it into one and then had that
Get
manufactured.
clinical dosages of things
Yeah.
you can take orally,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, even like with these injectables that are coming out right now, these peptides, like you should only inject them, right?
For the best.
Yeah, taking them orally, like you're only
not gonna get it,
the
yeah.
bioavailability is
Yeah,
just
it's
so
not-
minimal. Yeah, of these peptides. Do you take peptides openly?
Yeah,
Right,
well,
with you?
mainly around injuries. Like we use a
Yeah.
lot of BP 157.
157, yeah.
Yeah, so
We've played with other stuff, but not really. You know,
Do you
it's
guys
like-
offer that too?
we do by referring to very specific people.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's like you have to see where someone's at and what they're open to. Peptides are like there's a huge future in that though. You know,
Yeah, we know a couple of people that do that as well.
And swear by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely believe in it as the way of molecular medicine in regards to what you can do with peptides. So it's going to have a strong place. But the problem here in California or in the States is how restricted things get when they actually provide a benefit that takes away from big pharma and medical industry.
Yeah.
It just gets canned and hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
And that, like even hyperbaric oxygen therapy, you go to Europe, South America, there's, you can find 80 to 90 different things that they've been studied for or been shown to help with chronic health issues. Here we have 14 to 15 FDA, approved therapies that it's been used for, but that was created in the 70s and then they've put no research into it since because of the way things are geared here towards, just take this pill and just, it's corrupt really.
It is.
but now more and more people are talking about it and feeling the benefits of it and being inspired by it. So it's going to get bigger and bigger, know, and having conversations like this but it's really when you experience it for yourself, that's where all that magic happens.
So
you know?
cool. Speaking of magic, we started with magic and we're ending with magic.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you guys on and getting to know you guys. We should hang out even.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I know
Yeah.
your
The
guys'
four of us. Your guys' vibe is like, I kind of get goosebumps. Like,
it's like such
you
a good
guys give me a vibe.
Yeah.
And
like a
I'm
good
about
vibe.
it. And not a lot of people give me a vibe.
Well, we
Yeah.
like to keep our circle pretty tight in regards to the people that we want to spend time with. Yeah, we should go out for dinner with people.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Love
Just kind of
that.
extend the
I
conversation.
know. I love your story. I love your story. I
Yeah,
love your story of
they're
how
so
you met
unique.
together and like where you
It's
guys
magic.
are at in life.
Best way
Like
of
it's
putting
cool.
it. It's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Where can people find you? Social media handles?
And in Newport, like tell us where you guys are at because that's basically all of our listeners
we're in
should know.
Newport, Birch and Bristol. Both Brauhaus locations are on Birch, which can be a little confusing, but we're there. It's I Love Brauhaus is for the company.
Instagram.
Instagram is I Love
Yep.
Brauhaus, brauhaus.com. And my personal one is pia.brauhaus. Then we have so many incredible artists. We have Holly, Courtney, Tess, like they're the best of the best. Also within one of our Brauhaus locations, we have Charlotte who does fine line tattooing. She's like,
Is she like the eyeliner?
no, she's the body art, the
body
fine line. Yeah.
Oh, I want to.
Yeah.
I want a new fine line one.
She is
I'm like
so
into like the little
good.
babies. Like
No, you should see
She's
her work.
incredible.
She's
Okay.
and she's just such an amazing
Okay,
person.
cool.
We also have Brandy. She's Rejuvenate, so it's all the body sculpting
Uh-huh.
in that location.
I
And
believe
then-
in lipo. Like I'm like, just suck it out of me.
You know, like the lymphatic, doing lymphatic, getting all.
Well, I got lipo all over my body, and like I did lymphatic.
After kids.
Yeah, after kids, I did lymphatic, and I swear by lymphatic too.
Yeah.
Lymphatic, and like she has all different modalities that where you don't have to go into surgery, but or you can too. You know, I love.
I'm just like
surgery.
suck it out of me. You know, whatever. That's just me.
Women.
And then culture.
Culture is on the corner of Birch and Bristol, so we're just the back end of John Wayne Airport there. Culture, it's Culture OC, so Culture OC _ is Instagram. There's YouTube. Basically, Culture OC. If you .com, you'll find everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come visit.
I know.
Yeah, well,
I want
I'm, like, super pumped for it,
a guided cold
experience.
plunge.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Cool.
We'll schedule you a whole day.
Yay.
You know, everything.
I love it.
Do a full protocol, so
Yeah.
you really feel the benefits of it.
I love to maybe
I love
even cross promote network between my business and yours. I feel like
100%.
there's
That'd be
some
cool,
overlap.
man.
Yeah, I feel like
have
you
a
guys
massive
would
following.
kill it together. Like
Massive.
they have like a cult following. Like anyone into health and fitness in Orange County like goes to one of their stores.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, you guys for sure. There's something there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, the best
Awesome.
of it, like how
Well, thank-
everyone's connected.
I
You know, it's
know.
like meant to be.
I know.
You know?
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate it.
This was really
So
cool.
much
This
for
is so
having
nice
us.
getting to know both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. It's cool.
Yay.
All right, guys.
Cool.
All right.